My hands are soft from counting money.
All right. Let's hit a couple of go live buttons and see what happens here. We're live on YouTube. Okay. Jaws 50 is starting off, and
are we on Jaws 50?
it's firing. Yep, we are live on Jaws 50, and however, we are not. I tell you, I don't know what's going on with our Let's Talk Jaws live page, but they keep trying to find ways.
Be foolish for people to expect this to be on the page that the show is named after.
Exactly. I keep trying to push everyone over to YouTube because it's just getting tougher and tougher, and there's good reason for that. So anyway, okay. All right, gentlemen. Well, here we are. We are up. We are running live. Happy Thursday night. And Thursday in August. Here we are. Running into the last month of summer. Yeah. Summer of the shark. Slowly coming to an end. Got some time yet, though. Slowly coming to an end. So I hope everyone's doing really well this evening. We have a special guest joining us tonight. We have Mike. I don't want to butcher your name. Do you pronounce it? Is it Pecosh? Is it Pecosh?
It's whatever you. I listen mostly we say Pecosh, but you get Pecosh, Pecosh, depending on what part of the country. You can imagine with a name like that. By the time I was in the 4th grade, I heard every possible insult you could possibly think of. Right? So, gosh, Pecosh. Oh my gosh, it's Mike Pecosh, and some less kind. So, whatever. It's Pecosh. It's it's an Ellis Island name. So.
I thought you were talking.
That was Hooper.
You were talking to me, Nate. I was going to say it's Smith, Mike.
It's not Smythe or Smitty. Yeah.
There used to be a jewelry store in Chicago called John M. Smith, but it was spelled Smyth, and the commercial was always John M. Smith, or do you say Smythe?
I had a friend I worked with. His name was Jeff. It was spelled Geoff. Oh my God! Yeah. People call him everything you can imagine. Everything you can imagine. But
sure.
I've been called Hopper, Hooper, Cooper, Harper. I've been across the counter from someone, and when they ask to spell my name, I say H-O, and I watch them go C-O-O.
Well, hey, as we kind of get started, we do have a couple people joining us. Val is joining us, saying hello, Joe's family. Hello, Val.
Hey, Val.
John from over in Scotland is hanging out with us. John, another late night with us, buddy. Thank you. So nice to see you on. By the way, great to see your video hit big. His video is really hitting big. Incredible. Yeah, we have Sandra Horn joining us. Your stream, not mine. All right.
Welcome.
Awesome. Very nice. Yeah.
Full house on Facebook. We got Jim Conway's there. Todd. Keith is there. Frank Sparks.
Frankie's joining us. All right, Frank.
Royalty. Jaws royalty tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you all for being on.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I really, really appreciate it. When Nate reached out to me, I told him I thought it was one of my friends, just being like joking with me. I was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm being invited onto this podcast. So it's a real treat. And thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. And so Mike, just to let everyone know at home, so Mike is a licensed counselor. That's what he does professionally, but he's also an author, and he wrote a book called Jaws Therapy. And I've seen this floating around for about a month on the pages, and it's kind of like, what exactly is the take on that? And so I was so intrigued. I just had to reach out to you and just thought, if anything, it would just make for a great conversation to have about your draws and your connections. Because that's usually not a direction that you see people going, with something like a movie, for example. But anyway, can you give us a little bit of your professional backgrounds? So give us a little behind the scenes with that.
Yeah. Sure. So I'm an LPC. That's a licensed professional counselor. And in all 50 states, they're going to have a credential that's either exactly that or very, very similar to that. Each state is its own little kingdom of credentialing. So an LPC is going to be, or sometimes it's a LMFT, a licensed marriage family therapist. Sometimes it's an LCPC, licensed clinical professional counselor. But generally speaking, a professional counselor is going to be someone who went to graduate school, has at least a master's, and had to pass the national counselor exam, and then do the requisite number of supervised hours. I was from Pennsylvania originally, so in Pennsylvania it was about 3,000 hours. It's about 2 years of postgraduate work where you're working underneath the supervision of somebody else who's licensed. And then after about 2 years, then one gets one's license. And so I'm an LPC, and people ask, what's the difference between therapy and counseling? We use the terms interchangeably. Some people think therapy denotes kind of a long-term process. It might have in the past, but generally speaking, counseling, therapy, counselors, therapists, we use those terms interchangeably. So I finished grad school in 2005. And so then I was licensed in 2007. And I worked for a mid-sized agency providing therapy in homes. It's kind of like the only job you can get right out of graduate school. So I did for about 5 years going into, it was called mobile therapy, which is just what it sounds like. You're going into homes and working largely with children with behavioral needs and mental health needs, and working with their families. It's also called cruel and unusual punishment. I've been in every type of home you can think of, but it's a great way to learn and to connect with people. And then after that, did some supervision work for the agency for which I worked, and then started doing outpatient therapy. In 2010, left, started my own company. And so 2014, we expanded, hired some other counselors. And then I finally got smart, and in 2021 moved out of Pennsylvania into South Carolina near the water. I love Pennsylvania. I always tell my wife, bury me in Pennsylvania. I don't want my bones to rest anywhere else, but I just couldn't do the winter. We couldn't do the winters anymore. So I'm licensed in Pennsylvania, Georgia, and South Carolina. And here I am. I'm an outpatient therapist. So people now come to me, sit in my comfy office, and I provide counseling. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Awesome. Well, we have Val saying he definitely needs JAWS therapy, so he might be reaching out to you. So.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. I want to move on to your background, your connection with JAWS, but is your line of work as bad with acronyms and things as mine is?
Oh, sure.
Education, and I find myself talking to and into, like, I don't know, you have a parent in or whatever, and I find it's as bad as going to the mechanic. I'm like, well, your TPS sensor is registering 1.4 degrees over, which is negative, and the MPE readout, and in education, it's the exact same way. It's like, well, the 504 plan and the LDEs and the, and all those kind of things, and people just look at you and go, you're like, I got to realize I'm not talking to another person in education. So I would assume what you do is probably a lot of that as well.
The only ones that are worse with that are the military, right? Like nothing can top the military. Those of you who have served, but I didn't. But yeah, absolutely. We do CBT, and I was an MT, and now I'm an OPT, and we get to do it PDQ and all of that. So.
Awesome. Well, how about JAWS? Tell us about your relationship with JAWS. How did you get it start? Where is it now?
Yeah, to do that, I might have to. I'm gonna backtrack a little bit, and it does tie in with my personal life, really, because the first part of my childhood wasn't great, and I spent a portion of that in foster care and in group homes, and so that's kind of like the sad part. The good part, though, is eventually my brothers and I were adopted, and I was about 8 years old when I was adopted. And so it was a lot of bouncing around different foster homes and group homes. And so we were adopted in 1984. I was 8 years old. And we got our first VCR. I mean, other places never had a VCR, right? So VHS. And I had seen JAWS, it was on television once. So I have a memory of, you guys are the experts. I'm a fan, but you guys are the mega fans. But you know that one deleted scene where Quint goes into a music store to buy piano wire?
Yes.
Did they show it on TV back in the 80s where they had that scene in because they had to, with commercials or something?
There was a couple scenes, and I can't remember if that one was shown like on ABC, but I know like the one scene like on the Orca after the line snaps and he and Hooper having the argument about what was online. He's been through this piano wire, and there was a cut scene there, and they had to fill time because of commercials and stuff like that. And so there's a scene where he goes in, opens up a tackle box. You start to look inside his tackle box, and you look to see what he's going to grab and stuff. So I don't know if the piano wire scene was or not. Mike, do you?
In the music store, yeah, that was on the November of '79.
Okay.
Yeah, it was that one and the scene, because I remember I still have the cassette tape. I was in the service at the time, and I went over to the rec center. I commandeered the television like 2 hours before, and I sat there with my cassette recorder, and it's on. I'm watching it, and they have an extended scene at the very beginning where Ellen burns the coffee pot or the teapot, and you could hear me on the tape going, "What the hell is this?" Yeah. So they added a few because they had to trim some stuff out and time and everything else and expand it. So the piano wire scene was in the first television screening.
So I remember, in my consciousness then, but then we got our first VCR, and along with Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, my dad grabbed Jaws, and so
it's a good father.
Yes, exactly. Right. So those were the
best movies in the series. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So, my brothers and I just watched those endlessly, and we just, it's such a quotable movie, right? And it just became, as a kid, I can remember once I was arguing with my older brother, and I said something to him like, "You can't do that," and he looked at me and he said, "I can do anything. I'm the chief of police." I just lost it. We just lost it, and so after that, it's endlessly quotable. My brothers and I were just constantly quoting movies to each other, constantly. To this day, decades later, anytime my younger brother and I are like parting from each other, if he's jumping in his car or walking away, one of us is going to turn around and go, "Just have him fill out the form. Just fill it out." This is something we do. So watching Jaws for me is part of my childhood. It's me and my brothers, and I have sisters too. I have to mention, they're not mentioned much in the book. I love my sisters, but again, long story short, I don't mind getting into it. But I'm number 5 of 6. There were 6 siblings, and 3 sisters were not adopted by the Pecoshes, but me and my 2 brothers were. So it was much more part of the zeitgeist of me and my brothers when we were adopted in Brownsville, Pennsylvania, and just grew up, watching it constantly, quoting it to constantly, and just fell in love with it, just like it was easy to do.
See, adopted people. I'm adopted. I was 6 of 11, but my dad always said that we're adopted children are special because they picked us.
That's right. Yeah,
Remember that.
Wow, talk about a one-upper, number 6 of 11. I was big when I was 5 of 6. Nice job. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So I can remember my mom coming downstairs and we're watching Jaws for the 30th time, and her turning off the TV and going, "Get outside. It's a nice day. Get outside and play." So we go out, and I would be Brody. My brother would be, because he was the oldest, he'd be Quint, and my younger brother would be Hooper, which was fine because they'd be beating up on each other. So
that sounds about right. That sounds very accurate. I grew up with a younger brother, and yes, that's the way things often work. And luckily, I was the older brother, so I got the good roles. So I could be Quint, or I could be Batman. I didn't have to be Robin, or
Oh yeah.
I could be Superman, not Superboy. That's just the way it works. So
that's the privilege of birth order there, right? Yeah.
That's exactly right. Yep. Yes. Awesome. Very cool. So a really interesting background and connection there that you have and with your brothers, although it doesn't completely surprise me. just thinking about it, I don't know how many girls that I knew that watched the movie, at least with the fervor that I did, or probably any of us, for that matter, growing up. My wife definitely is a Jaws fan, anymore by attrition. And I'm sure I'm not speaking for myself. I still drop the same quotes. The only difference is you were doing it as a child. I still do it as a man child, and I don't get that. I don't get as good of responses, unfortunately, anymore.
Yeah.
But that's the way it goes.
Mm-hmm. Mike and I have a mutual friend that we've known since high school, and every time we meet, whether it's been one day or 1 year, he takes my hand and goes, "Yeah, there's salt and count money in the little ball." And I go, "I don't need a quarter class hero yet."
That's it.
I saw him again last month, and we did it then too.
It's a ritual now, right? Something has to be done.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
It really is. It really is. Yeah.
He just did it a month ago. Yeah.
Exactly right. Yeah.
Oh,
We have-
let me mute myself. Sorry.
That's all right. We have a couple comments here. We have Robert from Scotland is joining us. Hello, Robert. Good to see you back. Mark Ames is hanging out with us. He's up in Mass. Mark, hope you're doing well there, buddy. Janie is, I believe, listening to us, and she threw a comment up over on Facebook. She says, "I will say, damn it, Martin, when people think that I'm dating someone." And James Scott is joining us. James says,
James Scott, Frankie's here.
Yeah. Yeah, I used to pretend the double bed was the orca and my baby brother's cot was the shark cage. So very, very cool. Nice. Great connection. Yeah. So let's dive into the book a little bit.
Please.
So you guys that don't know, so Mike authored a book. Mike is a counselor, and I did not read the entire book. I definitely went through and hit thoughts, and the layout of the book is such. It's a very very easy format to go through and read, and it's interesting how he basically draws connections. So he'll mention a part of the book, he'll draw like a connection to it, and then what he'll do is he'll tie it into whatever the theme or whatever that lesson might be. Mike, what kind of gave you the idea to go down that road? Because this is two things we often don't see mixed together.
Yeah.
And I just think it's genius, to be honest with you. I really do. So what was the draw for this?
Let me write that down. Genius. Good. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to get a snippet of that. I appreciate that.
Honestly.
Go ahead.
No. Honestly, it just struck me as so interesting, the fact that you're taking something you do for a profession and you're tying it in here with the movie. I mean, it's just it works. That's the best part. It works. So what was your draw for this? It's
born directly of my experience providing therapy because I'm primarily trained in cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, right? And I can teach people CBT and do CBT and provide CBT. But inevitably, I would use stories and examples, right? And a lot of storytelling. And the client would come back and they might not even remember any of like the psychoeducational stuff I showed them. I have a whiteboard, or I gave them handouts, but they'd say, that story you told me about that girl you used to date, that really stuck with me, So early in my career, I learned, surprise, surprise, people remember stories, and it's as old as human nature, right? I mean, for thousands of years, it's primordial. We sat around a fire and we told stories, and we use them as teaching. It's not a hot take to go, human beings learn through storytelling, but and that's why so many of us love cinema, and cinema therapy has not been. It's not something new. It's not something I invented. It's been around a bit, like bibliotherapy, assigning books for therapy and drawing a therapeutic lesson out of the book. But repeated watchings with Jaws, I started, sometimes using examples of that. You were talking earlier about, I think more men are drawn to it, but certainly many, many women are, and not to give into gender stereotypes, but look, I've been providing therapy for 20 years, and I can tell you most men don't love coming to therapy, right? And most teenage boys don't enjoy coming and talking to a therapist. However, most men have seen Jaws, right? And so what I could say is, oh yeah, you got smacked in the face like Mrs. Kittner just walked up to you, right? And they'd go, I get that. I get that. You know, yeah. Because you know what, man? Sometimes life's going to smack you in the face and you just got to stand there and take it, right? Or, you know, it's an obscure scene to some people, but, you know, we were talking earlier about this scene, but when Quint thrusts the fishing pole into Brody's hands, and I don't know if I can do the exact quote. Is this a PG show or is this a rated R show or what? You know,
you'll be fine. Yeah.
Well, I'll clean it up, and you can say, you know, and Martin goes, "Whoa, crap!" But he does, you know, he said,
yeah.
That's life sometimes, right? You know, people just thrust something at you, and you're ill prepared for it. But you got to, oh my God, I got to be a team player, you know, that type of thing. So I was always using storytelling, sometimes examples of my life, sometimes examples of anonymous clients, which I also do in the book, you know, and I'll change some details so they're not readily identifiable. But more and more people could identify if I'd say, you know, that one scene, remember this or that from, and not just Jaws, obviously, you know, Godfather is famously, you know, very applicable to life and business, and another, you know, great scene. But what they have in common is great storytelling, right? It's one of the reasons why so many of us love Jaws. Great acting, great sound, great editing, great directing, of course, but also just, you know, it's a great story. And it's a story as old as can be, right? It's a hero's journey. It's primordial, you know, and so that's kind of where I got the idea. And then, as all great ideas start, there might have been a cocktail in my hand as I'm watching Jaws with my wife, and I was like, you know what? Let me pause that a second. I want to write something down. I want to remember this one client. I want to, and then I'd start it again, and she will tell you when I've had a cocktail, I might pause the movie a lot and go, you know, and she's like, can we just watch the movie? I found, and so one time I said, I'm just going to watch Jaws start to finish and just write down every idea I have. I'm going to pause it. And she's on her laptop or something. So I just furiously, you know, I'd seen the movie 10,000 times, but one time I just went through and started writing down everything that I thought, there's a therapeutic lesson here, right? So that's kind of where it was born. I just started writing it out, and I thought, I wonder if there's a book here. And so really, when people ask me, I say it's part cinematic analysis and part self-help book, right? It's part cinema analysis, part psychoanalysis.
Cool.
Yeah. Very interesting. And I going through it, and you said you have a couple excerpts. You know, maybe you want to hit one or two, or but it's neat the way that you align those ideas, those thoughts. You sum them up with the lesson you get that ties with that scene. And some kind of caught me. I was like, wow, never thought about that. Like you did the one about when Hooper and Brody were on Hooper's boat. He was like, oh yeah, so you're rich? Yeah. Well, how much? Well, me or the whole family, you know. And that whole lesson, you kind of went through the whole deal. And then the lesson at the end was don't feel bad about your accomplishments or
don't apologize for your success, right? Yeah.
For your success, and just a great way to kind of draw from that.
Yeah.
So yeah, you want to maybe tackle maybe one of those?
Yeah, sure. I'll go from, I have it kind of queued up here from earlier in the movie, and so the way the book flows is I'll describe the scene, and then I'll do some thoughts about it, and then we'll talk about the therapeutic application. So. Mm-hmm. After the brutal death of Chrissy, the scene returns to the nighttime tranquility of the ocean and the drunken slumber of Cassidy. Next, the night dissolves into morning, and we meet the Brody family and quickly learn that they are transplants to the island. Brody gets a call about a missing person, and then he's heading to the office to investigate what he assumes is a possible drowning. They have 2 phone lines in their 1975 house. Cool. If this guy's going to be the hero, he seems an unlikely one. What we see is an everyman, a regular guy rising stiffly from his bed in a modest room and engaging in morning banter with his wife. He's a family man who needs to fix the swing set. I love how he tells the kids to stay off the swings and then walks right past young Sean on them. Note too how Michael goes off to swim by himself and no adults feel the need to hover over him while he does. A different time. Sometimes great things are accomplished by great heroes, I guess. In my lifetime, though, I've not seen that happen too often. In my experience, most great things are accomplished by simple, ordinary people rising to the occasion, finding within them a strength or courage they never knew they had. Brody is so inexperienced with beach life that it even has to ask his caller, presumably Deputy Hendricks, what happens to a drowned body. An ordinary man rises on an ordinary day in his ordinary house to the start of something that will be extraordinary. How often does life give you notice that something profound is about to take place? Life-altering events come with little or no warning, and yet we're tasked with living, with finding a way to get by, get through, push forward. Maybe your morning phone call will be that your father has passed away, or that the medical tests you took have your doctor concerned, or that your child was caught with drugs in school. Most mornings we don't wake up and wonder, is this the day that my life will change forever? Brody surely doesn't wonder that on that bright sunny morning he takes a call about a missing person. We can't live our lives by what if, but we can live with greater awareness in each moment, for we never know that if that moment is the start of the call to everyday greatness. Life lesson, life can change in an instant.
Wow.
So that's kind of how that goes there.
Very nice.
Very
Yeah.
profound. Yes.
Yeah, and we can all relate to that, right? Because that's part of the human experience. All of us can think right now, if I started asking you, can you tell me a time that you got unwelcome news through a text or a call or something that you just like shocked you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is, or in retrospect, we look at something, if that hadn't happened, if this hadn't happened, that's the start of the adventure, and it's the most ordinary thing in the world. He just gets a morning phone call, right?
Very interesting. And it's, definitely, even though we can't relate with that situation, I guess my question is, when you approach it maybe from that respect, like in that scene in the movie, does that ever help with people kind of maybe open up a little bit? Because like, okay, I identify with that. That's something you and I have in common. Does that help kind of like bring the walls down a little bit sometimes?
Yeah, absolutely. By far and away, the number one presenting problem that the counselors see is anxiety. It's the biggest reason why the average American is going to come see it more than depression, more than even substance abuse, anything like that. So when we see anxiety, it's often the root of it is like the what if thinking, right? And then that can lead to panic at its worst. It can lead to phobias. And so, our dear friend Martin Brody, what's his anxiety? It's water, it's boats. I don't know if you know this, but Martin sits in his car on the way to the ferry. And, I got to sneak in the Ellen quote there, right? But so we talk about overcoming anxiety. Often a treatment is exposure therapy. I don't know if you're familiar with something called systematic desensitization. It's a form of exposure therapy. If you're afraid of dogs, you can talk to a therapist, and we'll talk about changing your self-talk. But eventually, you got to go be around a dog, right? So that's the cognitive behavioral thing. Change your cognition, but also change the behavior. Now, you could adopt avoidance, and that is a strategy, right? So you could just never be around a dog again until you meet a dog lover and you fall in love with a dog lover, and suddenly now you've got to find a way to do it. You could be afraid of elevators and just avoid elevators until you get your dream job on the 64th floor of the office building, right? So the idea is, if you're afraid of elevators, we talk about restructuring your cognition, but eventually you got to ride the damn elevator, right? So what we see with anxiety, of course, is, and I think about this too. You guys probably thought about, Martin didn't have to go on that charter. He could have sent Hendricks. He could have just said, "All right, Quint, you got it. Come back, bring me the head of the Wicked Witch," But instead, it's my charter, it's my party. He thought, I have the responsibility to go do this, even though he was terrified to do it. Well, that is courage, right? That is, and many reasons why so many of us that love Martin Brody so much, right, is this idea of conquering your fears.
Sure. Yeah. We do a couple
he is
comments.
the every man in the
Mac.
story. He is. I think he's the character the audience identifies with most.
Yeah, and I think too, like there's Martin on land and Martin at sea, right? And Martin on land is man of action. You know, okay, we're gonna go here, we're gonna do that. The scene where the shark's in the estuary, he is running, he's jumping over the bridge, he's pulling up the blanket to wrap, Michael. And then, when he's on the boat, he's literally, what do we do? How do we handle this? And we can all identify with times we felt very confident and secure, and times we're like out of our element. Okay, how do we handle this? How do we handle this? Right? Yeah.
Got a couple of people chiming in here. Robin's chiming in saying, most quotable movie ever. I have to definitely agree with that. Yeah. And Val Sanders, there's a Jaws quote for just about every occasion in life. And he's then asking, which Jaws quote applies to the most people, you would say? Like, is it one that stands out or people can connect more with than others that you haven't come across?
I think I'm familiar with the fact that you're going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you in the ass.
Nice. Yeah.
Right? Because that's what we want. We want to avoid. I'm going to ignore this. I always say, never underestimate a person's ability to self-delude. We love to lie to ourselves, to tell ourselves it's not a problem when it is, to say that I'm gonna. That's a favorite lie we love to tell. I'm gonna stop the thing that's a problem. I'm gonna exercise tomorrow. Right? We want to ignore the shark that's swimming and attacking the beachgoers, right? So we love to ignore problems, and even if it's going to swim up and bite you, right?
Absolutely.
I thought you were going to say the people that are depressed that you put your hand on their shoulder and say, "Hey, smile, you son of a bitch."
I'm going to try that one. I haven't tried that one. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Our other host, Jeannie, is joining us.
Oh, great!
Ready to go. So let's. So, Jeannie, good to see you.
Hey.
Howdy.
Hey. Sorry, I'm late.
Hi, Janie. It's an honor to meet you.
Good.
Nice to meet you. I wanted to come on, but I figured I was gonna do it next week. But that's okay.
Look at that! See, making that connection. Yes. And James Scott was responding when you were talking about like avoidance of things and being afraid of things. He said, "I'm afraid of sharks. I just don't want to be around them." So,
you're in the wrong group, brother.
Yeah, right.
It makes sense to be afraid of sharks, even though you guys probably know better than I do. But I think I looked at once. You have a greater chance of getting struck by lightning twice than you do of getting bit. And I'm from Pennsylvania. I had a better chance of getting bitten by a brown bear and a black bear in the same day, right, than you do of getting. Right, Mike or Nate?
The thing is you run a better chance of getting killed by a cow in Pennsylvania than you do getting bit by a shark in Massachusetts. That's just the way it is.
Exactly.
Those are the odds.
But people don't avoid petting zoos, right? So, yeah, obviously, I'm in South Carolina. We're about 30 minutes from toes in the sand at Hilton Head Island, and there's certain when they spot a shark, they blow the whistle. Everybody comes in. I'm not going to go running out there going, let me go see if I can catch a ride on this shark. Of course not. But we also, and you could avoid the ocean. That's a strategy. I acknowledge that. Then we miss out on this glorious experience of swimming in the ocean, right?
This is true. Absolutely. Yeah. And Val's kicking in saying, great answer, Mike. So loving what you're, how you're tying this in. So yeah.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, very much so.
The other kind of you asked about the parallels, and the overarching thing is this idea of it's problem solving, right? It's problem solving at its best, and it's rising to a challenge. And throughout the book, I talk a lot about grit, right? Tenacity, stick-to-itiveness, and the movie, of course, is about a killer shark, but really the shark, the plotting nature of the shark, it keeps coming. But really, another way to look at it is Martin never quits. Martin is constantly there. Martin exhibits grit. He's the least likely guy to eliminate the shark of the three men on that boat, right? And you could say, well, the shark keeps coming. Yeah, but in a lot of ways, Martin keeps coming, even though we never thought he would be that. The first time you see it, you think, he's gonna stay on land, or he's gonna just be total landlubber when he's on the boat. But this idea of grit, stick-to-itiveness, and a lot of times people ask me, like, what's the biggest mistake people make in therapy, or why does therapy fail? And there's obviously individual reasons, but broadly speaking, often people don't want to put in the work of therapy, which is between the sessions. The toughest work of seeing a counselor is not coming to see me once a week or once every 2 weeks for an hour. It's the things done between the sessions, right? To put in work, to be gritty about your recovery, right? And that's one of the reasons why I love Jaws, is because you see grit, real grit, true grit, one might say.
There you go. Another good catch there.
Yeah.
I have a friend who's a physical therapist. He says the exact same thing.
Of course, it's a
The
great parallel.
exact same thing. You're sent home to do certain things or exercises or stretches. In between your sessions, with the idea you're going to make progress, and that 9 times out of 10, it's just I'll do it when I get there. Kind of. Or once you're released from therapy, continuing that so you don't regress. And so I would assume it just parallels with what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then that great feeling at the end, once you've blown up a 25-footer, 3 tons of them, the ocean's a lot less scary, right? And so, he's just, hey, let's get in on those. And I love, the nod in Jaws 2 when he's got it, the floatable barrel as the planter.
It's in the front of the door, the planter,
Yeah, the ocean's a lot less terrifying once you've conquered the monster, right? So again, it comes back to broadly speaking, that's a therapeutic concept. I can tell people, watch Jaws, and what's the takeaway from that? Well, the takeaway is I can't avoid my problem. I've got to go conquer it.
Very nice. Very nice. Although to this day, I often wonder at the end of that scene, the shark blows up, and Brody he's in the water, and his face is like he just pretty much spits water out. Hooper comes up, and you can see the red tinge in the water. And I'm thinking to myself, those guys started telling, like, how the hell was there not like 3,000 sharks moving in on them as they blew the shark until they paddled to the shore? Has nothing to do with this. Just something I always often thought about watching the end of that movie. Yes.
Do you know? And I kind of put this in the book too. But one thing, we all grew up watching it, 1,000 times, right? And I remember as a kid thinking that Hooper and Brody were very blasé about Quint's death, right? Hooper just goes, Quint, and he goes, no. And they go, all right, well, what's next, right? And I was like, my gosh, they're just so blasé about it. And I realized I had spent more time with Quint than they had, because I'd, in real time, I had seen Quint thousands of times at this point, where in the movie, he was a very difficult man who almost got them all killed. He wasn't the most likable, warm and fuzzy guy. And I realized I liked Quint much more than Brody and Hooper probably would have if it was a real life situation. But I always wondered, like, why aren't they sad that he's dead, right? Did you guys ever think that when you were kids?
Well, I kind of thought of it, maybe it was because they realized that was the way he wanted to go, or that was the death that they had expected, especially talking about the Indianapolis.
Yeah.
Because like he said, he'd never put a life jacket on again.
Yeah.
So maybe it was kind of very, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? Melancholy, maybe? I
Yeah.
don't know. But maybe that's why.
I like that. Yeah.
Hey, I'm smart.
Martine, right? Yes. And I often drew the conclusion there too, that to be honest with you, and you talk about how men don't want to talk about, whatever therapy or feelings and stuff like that. My recollection, unfortunately, to this day, and I think it was ingrained in us because of the generation that passed it on to us, was needing help was a sign of weakness. You know what I mean? Really, I tend to struggle with that still, whether it's something physical or whatever,
Sure.
mental, whatever. And I think that little scene there, Quint, I think that was part of it, and the other part of it was, it was just a simple conversation. They were going to leave it at that because they knew everything beyond that.
Correct.
We weren't going to spare those details. So
yeah. And you're absolutely right. And you grew up like rub some dirt on it and keep going, right? Like, but again, with Martin, and I write about this in the book, when Hooper arrives, Martin welcomes help, right? You're the guy we call. Oh, you're the guy from the Oceanographic Institute. You're the guy we called. He doesn't engage in a turf war. He goes, "Oh, listen, son, I'll help you when I'm ready to help you, and I'm the law around here." He leans into getting help. Oh gosh, you're the guy we called. Thank God, help is here, right? And I think
Relief.
what a wonderful response, right? When help arrives, to welcome it, right? To acknowledge that you need the help, and then to welcome it when it arrives. Another scene I talk about with a lot, again, with men is, the great scene, the poignant scene when Sean is mimicking Martin, at the table there. That scene that just plays on your heartstrings, and I talk to dads and I say, your sons are always watching you, right? Your sons are watching you. They watch how you treat women. They watch your relationship with alcohol. They watch what you do with your time. They watch how you honor your word or you don't. They hear how you use profanity or don't, anything, right? Your sons are watching you, and they're going to mimic you. And, you see that played out rather poignantly, and then, humorously there as well. But, that's an important lesson too, right? And of course it applies too with women. Your daughters are watching you. So, again, another therapy parallel from the movie.
Well, as an educator, I know firsthand that mentoring is by far one of the most unrecognized and best forms of teaching. Really, literally, watch what you do.
Yeah.
I'm talking about children, but I think people in general. Yeah, absolutely. So definitely goes on there. Yeah. And James is chiming in over on Facebook saying, yes, it is so tough to ask for help as you feel like a failure or a weak person, but it's a sign of strength to ask. And that's a good point to point out there, James. Very much so. Yeah. Yeah. And Robert is saying, hi, Janie.
Hi, darling.
So, yeah. Awesome.
Could I ask you guys? I'm sure you already covered this, but it's rare that I get to geek out with other Jaws fans. So,
absolutely.
Can I ask you? I appreciate you talking about the book, but I got to ask this. So, who is your favorite minor character and why? I'm sure you've covered this.
That's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I'll start. Why you think you? So for me, it's Mayor Vaughn. I love Mayor Vaughn, and I'm calling him a minor character, like not one of the big three, that's in it, but anybody that's like a supporting cast. I just love him. Murray Hamilton is absolutely sensational in that role.
Yeah.
I just love everything about him. So that's kind of my favorite. How about you guys?
Oh gosh, I had to think about this. I mean, there's several that I could really just point out. You know what? I was going to say Hendrix. Yeah.
Why Hendrix, Mike? I'm not going to analyze this, I promise.
Because he's just he's always there. He's willing to help. He's a more three-dimensional character in 1 than he is in 2. But I'm going to do this, and I'm going to get the signs made, and we've got this happening, and so he was, and finding Chrissy and the reacting, and and he had good banter with Chief Brody. The whole one of my favorite scenes is when Brody's waiting for Hooper to arrive, and he's in the thing, and Hendrix is outside smoking a cigarette. And he throws the bolts at the window. He turns around, and he goes, "Hey!"
He's waving.
He's just such a likable guy. So yeah, I would go with Hendrix.
That's why I like Hendrix, because he does the best he can.
Yeah.
And he's earnest, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. How upset he was with Christy. The grisly death of Christy. Yeah, he like I said, he does the best he can with what he has.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah.
That's a very good point, because when he says at that time with Chief Brody, he says, you need to go out and talk to those people, because those aren't my people.
What about you, Hoop?
Who's next?
I would say Hendrix for the reasons I just said.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Janie?
Definitely Hendrix. Absolutely.
And Nate, don't let the fact that Jeff watches this show affect you.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
right?
pressure, my
I know.
friend. No pressure.
I'm sure he's sitting there with his police hat on
Baseball cap on.
right
And
now. Yeah.
Who are you gonna choose? Who are you gonna choose?
You know, one scene that always caught me, and I was so enthralled by the character, and he is in it for mere seconds, and even in the cutscene with Ted Grossman, he's only in it for a couple seconds, but that is Harbor Master Frank Silva.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't even say a word, but everything is just chaos. And he's a harbor master. What's he do? He's like, hell with it. I'm going to sit and enjoy the show. He comes walking out. He's got his Rice Krispies and his milk and his Domino sugar, and he's smoking his pipe.
Yeah.
And he sits down, and if you ever see the cutscene where Ted Grossman's falling off the boat into the water, he's like smiling and eating away. You know, it's like everything is literally going to hell, and he is just sitting back and riding it. It's like, hey, this is great. You know, it's entertainment.
He was basically the original shit show supervisor.
He really was. You know. Yeah. Robin's chiming in saying Frank Silva, Harbor Master.
Hey, go,
Yes,
Robin.
I almost wish he had some speaking lines because he just blew me away every time I see him. In fact, I have a quick still of that I would just throw up on my laptop and just think when things are going south, just I want to be Frank Silva one of these times. I don't want to be the one going, oh my God, ready to like rip my hair out or like lose it or whatever, or try to like, stay calm and think through and how are we going to fix the situation. I just want to be Frank one of these times, I just want to be Frank. What are you idiots doing? Come on, this is good.
That's Kipling, right? If you can keep your head about you when all around are losing theirs. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
From The Sopranos.
Wait, Val is saying a what guy? Yeah, he had a good role too.
Yeah.
He really did.
Yeah.
He really did.
James Scott says Hendrix also.
Does he? Yeah. We all have a soft spot for Hendrix.
Yeah.
And he had a bit of a bigger role in the second movie than he did in the first movie, but I still think I enjoyed him more in the first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I loved him in the second, but yeah, just the way he kind of comes off as a bit of a greenhorn, kind of at times that not sure what to do kind of thing, but yet you could tell that he and Martin have a really tight relationship. What always drew me to that was when he finally is talking to him, he says, "Those are your people. Go and talk to them." The first thing he does, he takes the lit cigarette out of his mouth and starts smoking it. So those guys have to be pretty tight. You know what I mean? So yeah, absolutely.
My people, have you seen those license plates up there? Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey.
What's the matter with my printing?
Yeah.
But yeah, there are a handful, and he happens to be one of them. But I just love every time I see him. He just makes the film. I mean, really. Even with some of the best lines of the movie. Mike, what is your favorite line from the movie? If you had to pick one.
Oh God, you already know mine.
That's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean the iconic. You're going to need a bigger boat. Obviously, that's that is passed into the gestalt of means we're in over our heads, right? I mean, when you have such an iconic movie with so many iconic one-liners, this is not a boat accident. That's a kind of confronting people for calling them out for their BS. Smile, you SOB. That's obviously an iconic one as well. The one I kind of end the book with is the idea. It's kind of softly spoken, but some of the best advice in life Hooper gives right at the end there, which is keep kicking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Great line.
Yeah.
Great line. Mr. Smith, what's your top line?
Oh God, there's so many. I like my kids are on that beach too, which I've used a couple times. People don't get the reference at work when they come up and they complain about something that something happened at work and we all have to deal with the effects. But they come talking to me and they go, hey, my kids are on that beach too, and they look at me like, what? It all, it happened. That's like the nicer way of saying shit happens. So
yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. And I'm in this with you. I'm in the same boat, right? Yeah.
What about Hooper? What about you? Fine, best one.
Well, what can I say? But Hooper drives the boat.
Didn't see that coming, right? Yes. You got the shirt to go along with it.
Yeah, he
Janie?
does. Well, I use this a lot. If I get aggravated at work, I just sit there and go, damn it, Martin.
Yeah.
And people are like, who's Martin? Who are you talking to? They don't get it either.
Yeah.
And then the other one that I really like is my favorite, and it's because it's so funny and it's not obvious, but it's when Chief Brody looks at Hooper on the Orca at night when they're at the table and goes, "You're wearing a sweater." That cracks me up.
Oh yeah.
Every single time.
Yeah.
Because nobody knows what. No, he's not. Yeah, he's talking about the hair on his chest, and nobody caught it.
Yeah.
Which I didn't catch till I was 60. He was talking about the hair in his chest.
Really?
My brother and I, we would quote that all the time. If we were at a beach or something, you take off your shirt and you have a hairy chest, they go, "You're wearing a sweater."
You're wearing a sweater.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's just
Yep.
the way he goes, when he points to, he goes, "You're wearing a sweater." It's just so funny.
Yeah, it's great.
Right. We have Victor is saying that his pick for minor character is Ellen Brody. She's definitely the rock of the family,
Hmm.
and I think it's some people think that she was kind of understated as a character, but I definitely think that comes through because she really didn't break until her son was in the hospital, and she had that one line. It was back to New York. You knew then that she was definitely.
Yeah, she's ready. She's ready to go.
We're done.
Yeah.
We're done here.
Yeah,
We're done.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had two favorite lines, and they're both extreme. My number one favorite line of all time for that movie is "drowning."
Yeah.
And it's how he says it, and when he says it, and why he says it.
Pith.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Pithy. Yeah.
I laugh to this day when I see that. And the other one is as soon as they see the shark, essentially, when the sled shark's going by the boat, and talking about how big it is, 25 feet, 3 tons, and all that stuff. He's like, "So how do we handle this? How do we handle this?" And Quint walks. He's walking back to the back of the boat, and he just mutters, "Time to get to work.
Yeah.
Get to work," or
Get to
something
work.
like that. You know what I mean? He was like, "Yep." He's spot on. Like, all right, no more messing around. That's right. We got stuff to do now. Yeah, we saw this thing. So yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Nice. Well, what is probably a life lesson that you draw the biggest connection on that you pulled from the book? If you had to name one, Mike, that you personally, do you have any that really stand out?
Yeah, again, the idea of keep kicking, right? No matter what, when you find yourself out at sea and no one's going to come pick you up, the idea is you got to keep kicking. There's also the idea of there's people in the movie that their lives are gone in an instant. Chrissy and Alex Kintner and you guys okay over there, right? I mean. Life can change in an instant. And there's an old Latin phrase, it's a well-known phrase, tempus fugit memento mori. Time flies, remember death, right? And it's not a macabre thing. It's saying that, look, time flies like that. And remember, you are mortal, right? We are all mortal. And I think, so what's the therapeutic lesson of that? It means don't put off that thing that you want to do. You can't live your life by, YOLO, you only live once because, there's only today because tomorrow is most likely going to come. But also this idea of remember that we're only here for a short amount of time. And so we don't want to be held back by our own doubts, our own fears, whatever that great shark is in your mind, right? So that's kind of one of them. And again, as I said earlier, sometimes you will be smacked in the face, and all you can do is stand there and take it, right? Because of Martin's quiet dignity, he didn't turn around and go, "Wait a minute, you're hitting me. He's the one who wanted the beaches open. Blame the mayor," right?
Right.
She and also I love her dignity too. Here's a woman who profoundly grieving. She wants him to feel the hurt, but she doesn't sue the city. She doesn't sue Martin or the mayor. She doesn't call a press conference. She walks up. She has a painful, powerful message to deliver. And then with quiet dignity, she turns around and walks away with presumably her father, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like that reaction to when we're grieving, we can lash out. We want other people to hurt sometimes, but maybe we just want people to understand the hurt we're feeling, right? And then we're going to go and grieve in our own way. So, yeah.
And that is so much my biggest draws from that movie in general. It's that human interaction and human reaction to the different adversities that are taking place. The townspeople in general. Individuals like Lee Ferrer and whatever Mayor Vaughn. I mean, everyone's it's very calculated to see how they're reacting, how they're dealing with it, how they tend to be different, and that's what I think is what draws me to that story so much more than when I was 8 and I wanted to see a shark eat somebody. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Without doubt.
Yeah. And I could jump in with another quick excerpt. Again, what I've done is taken every scene and just kind of make a little quick, brief commentary on the scene and then talk about the therapeutic application of it.
Sure.
So I pulled up the one we were talking about earlier. So you'll hear my description of the scene and then just some tidbits about it and then the therapy. Hendricks and Brody have their hands full with the numerous would-be shark hunters trying to earn Mrs. Kittner's reward. Amidst the ruckus in the harbor, Matt Hooper makes his first appearance. Without realizing who he is, Brody asks for his help in warning some fishermen that they're overloading a boat and rushes off to put out more fires. Brody then tells the cigarette-smoking Hendricks to get back to work before Hooper and Brody are introduced to each other. Hooper comes aboard the island, and we see immediately that he's smarter than many of the people around him. He advises 2 boaters on how to safely exit the harbor. He cautions a fisherman in his handling of dynamite, and then tries to respectfully warn the local yokels that they're overloading their boat. When he tracks down Brody and Hendricks, he's still trying to be helpful, despite the rudeness of the men in the boat. Brody couldn't be happier that help has arrived. Notice the lack of pretension in Martin. He's not interested in throwing his weight around or engaging in some petty turf war. When Hooper explains that he's from the Oceanographic Institute, Brody is welcoming and instantly appreciative that Hooper has arrived. Brody doesn't waste time in trying to establish a pecking order. He simply asks Hooper what he can do for him. In Brody's mind, an expert's on the scene, and we should listen to him. If only more people were like that, right? Imagine if we all welcomed advice from the smartest person in the room instead of trying to show them how important we are in our own small circle. Over the years, I've had to give some advice to people that they didn't want to hear sometimes, and some are grateful. But many convince themselves, I don't know what I'm talking about, and that is probably true sometimes. That's what we'll see when Mayor Vaughn do when Matt Hooper, we'll see Mayor Vaughn do with Matt Hooper later, dismisses expert advice because it's something he doesn't want to hear. Most people would rather ignore a difficult situation than face it. And some people are threatened by competency, made jealous of the positions of others, and are outright rude to those who have done nothing more than offered a learned, if contrary, opinion. Not our Chief Brody, though. One of the reasons Martin is so likable is because he's so unassuming. And he certainly shatters some of the stereotypes many of us have about New Yorkers. Life lesson, when help arrives, welcome it. And scene.
Very nice. Again, it pulls right into your lesson, without a doubt. I mean, there's nothing but clarity there, and I really like that. that approach. It's solid. I mean, it's not even like you got to jump that gap to make it connect.
No.
It's there. Yeah.
I appreciate that. And again, we've been doing this for centuries, right? Telling stories to convey lessons, Aesop's fables, the parables of Buddha, the parables of Jesus. The thing that people remember is that story that connected with me, because we're all in our own stories. So throughout the years of therapy, that's what people's takeaways tend to be when I tell a story that has a lesson to it. And when I can incorporate great cinema, or certain things in my own life, or anonymous stories about anonymous clients, those are the things that people listen to. So that's why great films appeal to us so much, right?
I agree.
So.
Yeah,
Very
absolutely.
much so. Awesome. Well, we're just about rounding out on the hour. Why don't we do this? Why don't we give a little bit of information pertaining to where we can track down your book, or where we could track you down, and perhaps what I'd like to do is just kind of wrap up with just playing your little video clip introduction, because I'd like to know where people can get a hold of you, or reach out to you, or order the book, because like I said, it's a very easy read. It's very well written. I mean, you're not going to have any trouble going through it and picking out the meaning and the connotations and things.
Thank you.
And even the epilogue at the end is kind of fun to sit and go through. You talk about your connection with family and stuff like that, and leaving your poor sisters out and all that kind of good stuff. So
That was wrong.
Mike, you back me up. When you got a large family, you can't thank everybody, right?
Very true. See, I don't know if I was lucky or unlucky. I didn't find my birth family until I was 45.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was just, John knows I was just a kid that lived alone, lived with his dad. So, but it's true though. Now that you find him, you're never alone.
Nate, thank you for that. And thank you guys for letting me be part of your conversation. This was a lot of fun. I really appreciate it. And again, just to be able to geek out about Jaws. I haven't done it since my older brother passed away in 2017, but my younger brother and I, and my wife too, I brought her into the cult of Jaws with the rest of us. But so you can go to jawstherapy.com, jawstherapy.com. You're welcome to reach out to me. My very unique last name is Pecosh, so it's pecosh.com. You could Google me, find me. I just have to give a disclaimer that the way the counseling laws work, the licensing laws, I can provide therapy to you if you are physically sitting in a state in which I am licensed. Correct. So it's not where the counselor is, it's where the client has boots on the ground. So correct. I am licensed in Pennsylvania, South Carolina, and Georgia. If you're a client there and you want to reach out to me, of course, I can try to be helpful to you. If you're in Kansas or somewhere else, I can't provide the therapy to you. I can't, today's not a therapeutic relationship establishment or anything like that. You should find your own therapist in that state. So that's the disclaimer the lawyers tell me to say. So.
Understood. That's why we run our disclaimer at the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But we got a couple people chiming in here. We got Jim Conway. He's actually right around your neck of the woods. He's down in the Carolinas. Says I didn't know what you'd be serving. Holding a bottle of red and white. Used this when I first met my wife's parents the first time. Wine in hand. Wow. Pretty good.
Well done. Yeah.
Yes, very much. And James is saying this is such a smart idea for the book. We are here for a good time, but unfortunately not a long time. And he also makes draws to the fact that we all kind of need a bigger boat at times. So it's
very good.
Very good tie and connection. And that's exactly what he talks about, and that's exactly what the book does and the premise of it. And like I said, I picked it up. Actually ordered it like right around the time when I was conversing with you, and it is. It's a very simple read, and you don't have to sit and go through it. You can kind of just pull out little excerpts or lessons, or you can kind of at times draw in with one that maybe you have a connection to at that particular time. It's not a novel per se, but it's almost like mini lessons, really, and examples. Yeah.
And what speaks to us as children when we watch it is different when we watch it when we're teenagers, when we watch it as 50-year-olds. And I think I'm probably the oldest person on this call, right? I'm 50. So,
yeah, no, probably
you're the youngest one on this call right
John
now.
and I are
That's
65
okay.
next month. Yeah.
and I'm 53.
Yes. Yeah. We'll have you by at least a couple of years, so you're okay, Mike.
well,
Nice try.
I'm doubly honored because you're listening to this kid. I mean, what the heck? You know?
Yeah. You're Sean. I've got Sean. Yeah.
Respect your elders, will you please?
Yes. And so Robert's saying, thank you so much. The book sounds phenomenal. I can't wait to read it. Will there be an audiobook version?
Yeah, it's in production. We're getting almost done with it. You can do the ebook. You can get it on Amazon. You can go to Amazon.com, obviously, and type in Jaws Therapy. If you go to the Jaws Therapy book, you can get the paperback or the ebook and the audiobook. The production of that, I'm told we're hoping for the end of this month. Or in a week at best. So hopefully by Labor Day, the audiobook will be available. And thank you for asking.
Awesome, very cool. And I'd be remiss if I didn't pull up one of your visuals. I just love some of it. Bad Hat Harry says read Jaws Therapy. Yeah, I mean, I love these. These are great. This is great. $10,000. Catch a bird out. It goes through all that. And one copy of Jaws Therapy.
This is my wife. I have to give credit. This is her marketing, her guerrilla marketing thing was to do this. Yeah.
Very, very, very good stuff. Feeling overwhelmed? Yeah, that's that scene right there.
Right
when he
there.
gets the rod. Yeah. So very cool. So I want to play your little video on it, and we'll kind of hang our hat on that. We are going to stay on for just a little bit. We're going to hit on a little bit of a documentary that is coming out, but we'll get into that in a few minutes. So let's pull up the video here for the book, and then what I'll do, Mike, when you get off, if you would, just shoot me like the links that you mentioned, and I will put them across the pages when we're done with the show tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that way they're visible and they're out there. People can,
Yeah.
They don't have to go digging for anything. That would be great. I'd be glad to put it out there. And listen, if you ever want to come on and just geek out and talk about Jaws, you're definitely invited. Just to come on and talk about Jaws. So,
I appreciate that. That's so kind of you. I'm gonna take you up on that. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Even join it if we ever do trivia. That would be a good time.
Oh,
yeah. We do Jeopardy trivia nights, and they tend to be quite popular. So if you ever want to do that, yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. That's very kind. I know you've built a community here, and that's really special. So to get invited to be even a small part of it meant a lot to me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
Oh, by all means.
Happy to have you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll pull your video up here real quick and let this run. Check this out,
Jaws,
guys.
the cinematic masterpiece based on the best-selling novel. But it isn't just a great movie. It is a teacher of important lessons about life. Therapist Mike Pecosh takes us through the movie in an entertaining take on an American classic.
All right.
Cool.
Awesome. Yeah. Great way to wrap it up. Well, Mike, again, first off, I want to thank you for coming on and spending time with us. And again, I was just so intrigued, which is why I reached out to you in the first place. And I'm so glad I did. And I'm so glad that I got my hands on the book, because honestly, for someone like me, you could look at this as almost like different tools. Every lesson here is a different tool. And it's something that I can look at and associate with, because I know exactly, if you're anyone near us, these scenes like the back of your hand. I mean, you can recite them. So,
and I'm sure, Nate, your wife would never tell you need to see a counselor. But if a wife says you need counseling, I'm reading a therapy book. I mean, I'm reading a self-help book, right?
Well,
So
my next question was, since you're on our show, do we pay you the copay, or do you pay us?
fair enough.
Or a specialty? I'm just curious.
Yeah. So again, thanks guys for having me.
Hey, thank you very much, Mike. been a lot of fun. It really is very interesting and a lot of fun, and a lot of good feedback from people at home as well. Definitely seem to be genuinely interested in what's going on there. So wish you well. And like I said, you have an open invitation. You ever want to join us, talk about Jaws stuff and nerd out? We're always here. And
Yes.
shoot me the links as soon as you get off, and I
Will.
will gladly pull it up. All
I
right.
will. Thank you again. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much. Mike.
Good night,
Take care, bud. Wow, that was really cool. I mean,
cool.
honestly, really, I just never in a million years of all the things that you try and tie Jaws to, never ever think that someone would use it for something like that. Honestly, like you said, it's kind of like almost like a self-help book. And so, yeah. So, how about that?
That's pretty cool. It's a good idea.
Very
It
cool.
really is. I mean, and the guy is up and running now, so now he could do the Jaws 2 therapy book,
There you go.
and then he could do the Jaws 3D therapy book. Maybe that would be for like drug addiction
And then he'll do a
I don't know
version
what
of
I do
us.
for the. What would you do for the revenge? What would that be like? Like people have bad nightmares. I don't know what you would do there. No,
He'll go and do an analysis on us. Is what he'll do.
yeah, yeah.
What's Jane? Tripolar, Scottish, Irish, and Welsh. That's it.
Oh my God! But just leads its way into the psyche. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But
Yeah.
it's a good way to get a grasp of someone who, like he says, is very hard, that they feel like they're failing. They don't want to ask for help. And that even goes for a lot of females, because it took a long time for me and I hate to bring this up, but with the death of my dad, with the death of, John and I had lost a baby, and that was very, very hard for both of us, but I needed it the most. And it was very hard for me to go and ask for help. It really was. Maybe this could be a tool to go further with therapy if you needed it. So it's a good start. It's something that they're familiar with. They get a hold of it. They read it. They understand it. They get that confidence to maybe even go with their therapy further on. So it's an excellent idea from my point of view.
Really is. Really is. I can brainwash more people into watching that movie. Like it was like you're having a rough day. Come
We
sit
can
down.
do that. We can
Come
do
sit down and watch this movie with me. You know,
that. We can do that.
or with Jen. You're buying. What are you buying now? It's a therapy book. You know,
That's
I
right.
mean, he's basically writing me a free pass with this stuff. I mean, come on.
Did she walk down to the kitchen and went, thank God?
Yes.
Ironically, she was the one that ordered the book. You know, and then I started to read it, and yeah.
Oh, I love her.
So, but yeah, I mean, really, the guy's a great guy to talk to. Very nice guy to sit down and chat with, and yeah, I just really impressed with what he's doing there. And,
Excuse me.
yeah, interesting making connections there because let's face it, there's a lot of wackos in the Jaws world. You know, there's a lot of people out there that could.
So what you
No,
saying?
but it's something that's completely, I don't want to say marketable, but easy to be identifying with. So very cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've got one other thing to share with you guys before we wrap things up tonight, and that is, we talked about a documentary that was coming out a handful of weeks ago, and I caught wind that there's yet another one that's coming out. Mike, can you talk about it at all before I pull the clip up? Do you know any of the deets on this?
I can.
Go for it.
It's called Jaws Goes to the Bahamas. It is directed by my website partner, Mike Gencarelli. He's got it's kind of a love letter to Jaws: The Revenge, if there is such a thing. Jaws: The Revenge was the first Jaws film he saw, so he kind of has a special place for it in his heart. But he's got some great interviews in it, and it'll be coming out for the 40th anniversary in 2027. But they did put a trailer together.
Awesome. Well, let's pull that trailer up. What do you say, guys? And
Go for it.
I watched the trailer 2 or 3 times. It looks good. It really
Yeah.
does look good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let me pull that in here. Of course. And hit play. Here we go.
Everyone knows the stories about Jaws, but no one knows the stories about Jaws the Revenge.
Oh, what?
Oh wow, that makes you want to go see it.
Oh my God.
Blindfold.
That's
That's been queued for an hour.
Until
My
now.
apologies.
there we go.
You have to accept that since crazy things happen, then something like this could happen.
When it gets to anything that large and mechanical underwater, you're going to have some issues.
Sharknado wouldn't exist without Jaws.
People honestly saying Jaws the Revenge is also a great film. I'm not the only one out there that's crazy.
Jaws goes to the Bahamas, and here we are, 40 years later. Jaws the Revenge is coming back, and we're looking at it under a microscope.
So all the problems they had on the first movie, we had on this one.
What I'm looking to accomplish with this documentary is that I just want to see how many other fans there are out there.
Michael Caine saved my life. I feel this hand grab my shirt. Get out of this butt! And he pulls me out.
I had a great experience with Mario, and years later ended up working on a film that he was directing, and we bonded again and had a lot of laughs.
Lorraine was one of the nicest people I've ever worked with. I thought she was terrific in the movie.
Even though Jaws the Revenge did become a punchline, I was still proud of what I did in underwater filming.
We were not able to fix that ending in the post.
Jaws the Revenge, not a perfect movie, but it's entertaining and it's grown and it has a life of its own. So it stands on its own. Whatever flaws and all, it is part of franchise history and it deserves to be spotlighted.
Hi, I'm Lance Guest, and I'm here talking about Jaws the Revenge for the upcoming picture, Jaws Goes to the Bahamas. It's been 40 years. Look at me.
Very
Our
cool.
buddy Lance. Our buddy Lance.
Yes.
That's Starfighter.
Yep.
Yeah, that just looks great. It really does. I'm very, very intrigued and gonna check that out. Yeah. It's two that are on my list. So
Yeah.
John's, the farmer and the
Shark
shark. And
farmer,
now,
Yeah.
yeah. Very much so. Yeah. And I just went back and rewatched the Jaws at 50 documentary 2 days ago again.
Such a great documentary.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
It's a story,
Yeah.
it's not an interview, it's a story. I mean, it really is. So just a lot of good things that are coming out. So definitely gonna have to track this one down. Yeah. And Lance Guest was just can't get over how nice of a guy he was. Really was.
Yeah.
A great guy to talk to. And it's a shame that we don't have our friend Paul Downey that was on last week joining us for this now, because that's his whole premise.
That was his,
Wrote the book on Jaws the Revenge. In fact, he's in the documentary, if I'm not mistaken. I think he told me when I was talking to him prior that they had interviewed him. I thought it was for that one. And it was a documentary he was being interviewed for. I'm assuming it was that one. Maybe I'm wrong, but yeah. So yeah, it's a shame that he's not on. Because I'm sure he'd be loving seeing that as well. So very cool. Well, all righty, folks. Wonderful night tonight. Great guest.
Good show.
Yeah, some good ties with some lifelong lessons, and yeah. So there you go. Jen tries to figure me out. I'll just hand her the book. See, I'm in there. See.
Are you a Brody or a Hooper or a Quint?
Yeah, it depends on the day of the week, You can call me Sybil next week or something like that.
Don't take my title.
Yeah. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So, yeah, you guys at home, seem to enjoy that as much as we did. So it's an awful lot of fun and a great guy to have on. And like I said, I'll be posting up the links and stuff when we're done with the show tonight. And so I want to thank you guys for joining us, and hope you have a wonderful weekend and a safe weekend. And next week we might be having some people joining us from the island. So just kind of a heads up there. I'll let you guys know more specifics on Monday, but
Okay.
probably going to be talking to some people you probably ran into if you were on the island
Oh Lord.
this summer. So I'll keep you posted on what's going on later. That'll be the cliffhanger. So
Hopefully they don't. Hopefully they don't have pictures of me that are incriminating. That's all I'm concerned about.
Well, that all depends. Danny?
Depends what you think's incriminating.
I was going to say.
Those pictures.
I may or
What
may not
is-
have been drunk. I don't know. I'm kidding. No, I didn't do anything.
What is incriminating on Let's Talk Jaws Live probably doesn't look all that bad on Tinder and Grindr. So it really comes down to where you're putting those pictures, I guess. So
All right, brother got a hold of me. That's it. You're done. You're done. You're done.
Thank you, Robin.
Really enjoyed this. Thank you, Robert. Good night as well. James is saying thank you. Yeah, absolutely. So you guys at home, thank you very much for hanging out with us. Mike, Cooper, Janie, as always, thank you. Take you guys for granted all the time because we're always hanging out together. But still my special day of the week. It has been for over 5 years now, and still is.
Oh.
Thank you guys very much, as always. Probably something I don't say enough. So thank you very much. And that being said, we'll get a nice hefty fins up for everybody.
I got to do the
Wrap
one thing
things up.
because
That's all good. All good. And we'll let, as we always do, we'll let Quint take us out this evening.
Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. Farewell and adieu, you ladies of Spain. For we've received orders for to sail back to Boston.
I'm desperate. I'm out of beer.
So never more shall we see you again.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.